Okay, I'm going to demonstrate picot cast on, starting with a slip knot, and I put my needle in there, scrunch up. Okay, insert my hook knitwise, grab my yarn, pull it through, and then I wanted to twist it a bit when I put it on. Okay, now I insert my hook between these two stitches, so I basically just did a knit cast on. Now I'm going between like you would in a cable cast on, drawing through, but instead of putting that on now, I'm going to chain 2 stitches. Then I'm going to insert again through the 2, yarn over, pull a loop through and through the stitch that was on my hook. So I've basically created a slip stitch at the last step, and then I wanted to twist them on. Now this is looking pretty dense in this example compared with the pattern where I use lace, but I wanted a thicker yarn to demonstrate with. So I'll show again. Insert between the last 2 stitches, just like for a cable cast on. Yarn over and pull through. Okay. Chain 2. Sorry for my hands moving there. Okay. Insert. Yarn over, pull through there, and through my chain stitch. And then I'm putting them on knitwise, so they're a bit twisted, and that just made a neater edge. And you repeat that all the way across, and you will find that you have a lovely, oh, don't pull it too tight after, a lovely picot edging. You can hear my other needle dragging on the cement. How lovely. Did I say? And then through. And like that. And it just makes a really lovely edge. Let me try to find the right zoom point here for you. Not sure where I started. Okay, and that's how I do my picot cast on for the shawl pattern, a reversible shawl pattern. And you do a whole lot of those, and it takes you a long time, but it's well worth it in the end. Okay, now I just knit a few rows while you weren't looking, and I'm going to demonstrate the bind off. So slip 1, oh sorry, in my bind off I start with my needle. Slip 1, except for I should slip that knitwise, sorry, slip 1, knit 1, pass the slipped stitch over, so a standard bind off. Then I'm going to put that stitch back on my left hand needle. I'm going to drop my hook. I'm going to pull out my crochet hook. Now I'm going to go as if to knit 2 together. Yarn over, pull it through. Keep them here. Chain 2. Knit 2 together again. And draw through this stitch. And take them off. Put this back on, knitwise, sorry, this way, twisting, just like I did for the cast on. So not this way, that would be purlwise, but knitwise. And start again. Knit 2 together, chain 2, knit 2 together, and okay, I'm starting to loosen up here. Pardon me. There you go. I was going to lose my stitches. Pull it through there as well. Then pull those off. And again. to basically a slip stitch. Yep. Did I put it on the wrong way last time? I think I did. This is what happens when you change projects frequently. And use different techniques. Don't worry, by the time you're actually doing this on the project many times over, you'll remember. There you go. And once more. To the last stitch. So actually for the last stitch you're going to have slipped it. I'm just going to knit the last one and pass it over, which I could have done with my hook as well. And there we go. And there I go. Now it has a decorative nice edging as well, which again looks even nicer on the lace in my opinion. I didn't really check what size hooks I was going to use. I have 4.25 and unknown needle right now on this Aran weight yarn. Okay, with this yarn still on, I just pulled out the demonstration bind off. I guess I left that stitch bound off, that's okay. I wanted to demonstrate the yarn over that I talk about in the pattern. So it's very simple. It's just yarn over. See how it's coming from the back over to the front. And then I'm purling two together. So it gets a bit tight there, but once you pull your stitch through, make sure it's obvious for yourself that you have two stitches now. And it just makes sort of a loose edge with a little bit of bumpiness to it as you go. I learned it as being a picot selvage. And so that would be it. And if you were to work across to the other side, turn your work, you'd do the same. You'd be just yarning it over. So you have to hold it in place there as you work. Two stitches. And there you go. That's the selvage. So you see how it makes a bit of a loop there. And oh, you won't see it on this side yet. So just for the sake of consistency, I'm going to demonstrate the leaning increases. So my right leaning increase would be worked into not this stitch, but the stitch right below it. Kat Bordy calls that the mother stitch. So you're just going to knit into it, which sometimes is, so you want to just make sure you're only getting that stitch. You can pick it up like this and put it on your needle if you want. Knit into it. And that's a right leaning increase. And then for a left leaning increase, of course this is the new stitch, this would be the mother stitch. Or this was the parent stitch before. So you actually have to go down 2. 1, 2. So it's the same row as the other stitch you had knit. But because you put a new stitch above it already, when you're going left you have to go like that. So there's your increase. You knit into that one. You can put it onto your, lift it and put it onto your needle if you want. And then work it. And then I will demonstrate doing it purlwise. So purl-wise, to me, is even easier. So right leaning is you grab the bump, that's the top bump, because that's the stitch below, and you just purl into it. And left leaning, I better put another stitch in there. Make sure I'm not knitting into, oh, that was already a made stitch. Let's find where I haven't been making stitches. So there's a good one. Okay, here we go. Nope, that's where I made a stitch too. Okay, so left leaning, sorry, is, trying to get good lighting here, not this bump, but this bump. So the second below, 1, 2. And you just want to, wait, I gotta make sure. Actually, this one you have to lift, basically. And then purl into it. So I could demonstrate on this last one again. So not this bump at the top, but the one below it. Put it onto your needle and purl into it. And that would be a left leaning increase on the purl side. Okay, I'll roughly demonstrate the beading without actually using beads. So the first method that I use in the shawl is you would work the stitches until, as written, until the yarn over, and then in this case I would have my hook and I would have a bead on it up here. I'd have already hooked the bead into it. I don't have a bead big enough to go on here, so let's pretend there's a bead right here where my finger is. I'm going to just grab that yarn over, I'm going to slide the bead over it, I'm going to then put it back on here, and if I had a bead, the bead would be holding it tight down there. And then in the pattern, of course, now there's a bead holding it down here. We'll hold it with my fingers. And then I knit yarn over, knit yarn over, knit yarn over. Sorry, that was too many yarn overs. Remove the last yarn over, or purl, yarn over, purl, yarn over, purl, into that tightened up yarn over. So I'm not really doing that, but you can pretend I did. And then the other method of putting on beads in this shawl is basically you get to the stitch where it's supposed to be, and you've got your hook. I like to use a hook. You can use the floss method if you want. Pretend there's a bead on here where my finger is. I would go in, draw through my loop, and put my bead onto the new piece, pull it off, and now that the bead's down here at the bottom, where my thumbnail is, pretend there's a bead there. Then I just transfer it onto the right needle, tighten it up, it's got a bead there, not really, but we'll pretend it does, and then I knit across. And that's my second method of putting on beads.